There comes a moment in history when humanity must look not at what it has achieved, but at what it is becoming. We stand at that moment now. The question before us is not how far we can go, but whether we will have the wisdom to go well. Every discovery, every invention, every act of creation demands an equal act of conscience. For progress without purpose is merely motion, and motion alone has never saved a civilization. Human progress is not measured by how much we know, but by how wisely we use what we know. Knowledge, in itself, carries no virtue. It is neutral, like a flame. It can illuminate the path ahead or consume everything in its reach. The distinction lies not in the discovery, but in the discoverer, in the intent, the conscience, and the humility with which one wields understanding. Science is not a race against time, nor a competition among minds. It is a covenant with life. Every discovery, every insight, every advancement places upon us a moral responsibility equal to the power it confers. When we learned to harness fire, we became its keeper. When we split the atom, we became stewards of forces greater than ourselves. Now, as we unravel the code of life itself, the question is no longer can we, it is should we. The progress of humanity has always followed the arc of its conscience. When knowledge runs ahead of wisdom, history reminds us of the cost. Our achievements in science must be matched by our evolution in ethics. The goal of discovery should never be conquest, but cooperation with one another, with nature, with the delicate systems that make life possible. To understand is to participate in the miracle of existence, not to dominate it. If we treat knowledge merely as a tool for control, it will eventually control us. But if we see it as a gift to be used in service of life, then science becomes not just a profession, it becomes a form of compassion. We live in an age where the boundaries of the possible expand daily. We can communicate across the globe in an instant, alter the very blueprint of living things, and reach beyond our planet's cradle. Yet, for all our mastery of mechanism, we have not yet mastered the art of meaning. We must remember that the true value of discovery lies not in what it allows us to create, but in what it prevents us from destroying. Science without conscience can deepen division. Science with conscience can heal the world. The task before us, therefore, is not simply to advance knowledge, but to humanize it, to ensure that our curiosity serves life rather than undermines it. The purpose of knowledge is not to make us more powerful, but to make us more responsible. Each generation must decide how it will use the gifts it inherits from those before it. The measure of our success will not be in the sophistication of our inventions, but in the wisdom of our choices. If our discoveries bring more light than heat, more healing than harm, more hope than fear, then we will have done justice to the power entrusted to us. The destiny of humanity depends not on how much we can do, but on how well we can understand what we should do. Knowledge is the seed, wisdom is the soil. Only together can they sustain life. Every generation inherits two things: the wisdom of those who came before, and the uncertainty of the world that lies ahead. It is within this space, between what is known and what is not, that discovery is born. The unknown has always been humanity's greatest teacher. It humbles us, corrects us, and, when approached with reverence, reveals truths that illuminate our shared existence. Yet too often, we treat the unknown as an adversary to be conquered, rather than a mystery to be understood. We rush to control what we barely comprehend, and in doing so, we risk losing the very balance that sustains life. Discovery is not an act of defiance against nature. It is an act of listening, of participating in the larger harmony of the universe. Progress has never come easily. It demands not only intellect, but courage. The courage to question what is as accepted, to doubt what is certain, and to persist when answers are slow to arrive. Those who truly seek to understand must be prepared to be misunderstood, even opposed. But progress has always depended on such courage, the willingness to look beyond immediate reward, to see the value in patience, and the strength in humility. For the deeper one's knowledge becomes, the clearer it is how little one truly knows. The scientist's greatest power lies not in certainty, but in curiosity guided by conscience. The purpose of discovery is not to glorify the discoverer, but to extend the boundaries of what humanity can hope for, to bring light to where there has been darkness. In this age of rapid innovation, we must remember that knowledge alone does not guarantee wisdom. Our tools are becoming more powerful, but power without restraint can become perilous. The danger of progress lies not in discovery itself, but in our failure to match it with understanding. To invent is human, but to guide invention with compassion is divine. The world does not need more knowledge. It needs more wisdom in the use of that knowledge. This balance between what we can do and what we should do defines the moral frontier of our time. If discovery is to serve life, it must never lose sight of life's value. We are not separate from nature. We are expressions of it. When we study the world, we are, in truth, studying ourselves. The laws that govern the smallest cell govern the largest star. To understand them is to glimpse our place within something vast, interconnected, and sacred. The future of science, therefore, lies not in domination, but in partnership with the earth, with one another, and with the truth itself. Our responsibility is to discover wisely, to create compassionately, and to remember that every act of understanding carries with it a debt to those who will come after us. Discovery, at its highest purpose, is not the pursuit of power. It is the pursuit of harmony. When we honor that, our progress becomes not a threat to life, but a tribute to it. The future is not a distant horizon waiting for us to arrive. It is something we create, consciously or carelessly, with every decision we make today. Each generation writes a chapter in the story of humanity, and the ink we use is our actions, our values, and our vision. What we inherit from those before us is not just their knowledge, but their unfinished work, their hopes, their mistakes, and their lessons. What we pass on to those who follow will depend on whether we see ourselves as consumers of time or as caretakers of destiny. The question is no longer whether humanity will have a future, but what kind of future it will be, and who among us will take responsibility for shaping it. The choices we make now will ripple through centuries. The technologies we design, the environments we alter, the values we uphold, these will determine whether the world that succeeds us is more livable or more fragile. We are learning to wield powers once attributed only to nature itself, to alter the climate, to reshape genes, to manipulate the building blocks of life. Such power demands not celebration, but reflection. It is not enough to ask what we can do. We must ask what we should do. Progress without foresight can become peril as easily as promise. Our generation must become wise enough to recognize that intelligence is not measured by speed or scale, but by sensitivity, by our ability to see beyond ourselves and consider those who will live with the consequences of our curiosity. We must learn to think as ancestors. The true test of civilization is not in how high it rises, but in how well it endures. To endure requires restraint as much as ambition, humility as much as vision. It means understanding that our survival is inseparable from the survival of the systems that sustain us. The soil, the air, the oceans, and the fragile threads that bind all living things. We are not masters of this planet. We are participants in its continuity. When we poison the air or neglect the future, we are not acting against nature. We are acting against ourselves. The task of our time is not domination, but stewardship. To cultivate a future in which life, in all its forms, can flourish. The measure of our progress will not be in monuments or machines, but in meaning, in how deeply we honor life, in how wisely we use our gifts, and in how gently we walk upon the earth. The future will not remember our inventions, it will remember our intentions. What matters most is not that we live long, but that we live well and leave behind a world capable of doing the same. If we act with foresight, with compassion, and with courage, then the future we create will not be an inheritance of fear, but a legacy of hope. Our greatest duty is not to predict the future, but to deserve it. There comes a moment in history when humanity must look not at what it has achieved, but at what it is becoming. We stand at that moment now. The question before us is not how far we can go, but whether we will have the wisdom to go well. Every discovery, every invention, every act of creation demands an equal act of conscience, for progress without purpose is merely motion, and motion alone has never saved a civilization.